So, hello and welcome to our show here on WGSN-DB, the Going Bold and Going Solo Network. So, the information and opinions expressed on this show are just that, the opinions of the individual speaking based on their individual personal experience. They are not intended to diagnose and do not constitute professional advice or recommendations. So, you know, the pain, the stress, and the struggle that divorcing men and women go through. Well, there is a way to find peace and sanity, all while assisting your lawyer, saving you thousands of dollars. My name's Tina Huggins. I'm your divorce coach specialist, divorce planning specialist, restorative family mediator, and conflictual co-parenting coach. And I kind of giggled on the word pain. So we're dealing with a little bit of stuff. So our guest today is Harmony Woodington. And I hope I said that right because I didn't check that first. So Harmony is a relationship strategist, certified hypnosis, neuroscience coach, healer, and international best-selling author with over 15 years of experience guiding people out of toxic love loops and into emotionally intelligent, soul-expanding relationships. Known as the walking pattern interrupt, in the world of love and dating, Harmony cuts through the noise of therapy, cliches, and surface-level coaching with a neuroscience-backed approach that rewires the subconscious, the real matchmaker in our lives. So welcome, Harmony.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here.
Yes. It's been like since I was on last, it's just been this hoopla of a week for me. So yay for me to be here. Calm down, get my breath. I'll pull it together. So neuroscience. So kind of tell us about that because, you know, some people, some viewers are going to say neuroscience, isn't that what Dr. Joe does? So kind of explain that to us.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I would say I guess it would be almost 15 years ago now, I tapped into the awareness of the power of the mind just from this really weird multi-level marketing company that was created by these two gym dudes. And it was really funny because they had this whole personal development company that they had created that helped you to tap into the power of your mind. And I remember laying on my bed, listening to this thing, and it woke me up to the fact that there was power. There were things going on in my mind that I wasn't tapping into. And it created this big question mark for me. And I wanted to learn more about it. And the only way for me to do that was to not be a student to these old dudes, was to actually go and become a hypnotherapist. That was really what it was for me. It was like, I need to go become the thing because I'm really ambitious and I love learning. And so I don't look to, people to lead me around and tell me what to do. I want the education. And so I became a hypnotherapist. And I like, obviously, when you listed off all the stuff that I do, it's very apparent. I love learning and getting certifications and getting education. So it started there. And in working with my clients, I discovered that every mind is a unique maze that I get to explore. And every time it's new and every time it's different. And it makes it so incredibly exciting. And yet every single client I have worked with for over a decade now has not ever been able to, when they first started working with me, be able to communicate with their own mind and listen to their internal dialogue. They've had to learn how to do it as they've been working with me. And because I've been practicing tapping into minds for as long as I have, I might be a little telepathic, but I promise I use it ethically. And I help my clients actually develop that confidence in tapping into their own internal dialogue. And in doing this work, what I've always done is teach people how to develop that confidence in being able to not only listen to their own internal dialogue, which most people are running away from because they're terrified of what's going on in there. It's not pleasant, but to be able to effectively actually update it so that they actually have created their own internal Garden of Eden, and they enjoy dancing in it and playing with it because they know how to create and curate the mindset and programming that they want. Now, this was really rooted in hypnotherapy to begin with. But when we transfer it into neuroscience, this is when it becomes really exciting. And I think it was, in a decade of doing this work, I started to become bored and wanted to know more. I wanted to know the science behind it. And that was when I started to dive into educating myself in the neuroscience and how neuroplasticity works. And this really happened when I worked with a client that was in her 70s, and she had been married for almost 50 years. And she lost her husband. She became a widow. She bought an RV. She sold her house in Montana, and she started traveling the road in the US. And then COVID locked her down. And all of a sudden she was isolated in this RV and not around her community. And what was really amazing was from that extreme pain, she came to me. And because she had created what I call a massive pattern interrupt in selling her house and buying the RV and changing her whole life, it actually blasted open her neural pathways. And it created a space for new neural pathways to develop. And I was able to support this woman in her 70s, developing neuroplasticity after 50 years of living the same life, basically. And she has completely redefined her whole life, now living in Kentucky, running a successful business as a romance writer, teaching other people how to write romance books and stuff like that. It's the most incredible thing. And I think that was what created the curiosity, understanding that somebody that is that age can actually develop neuroplasticity. That means that anybody of any age can create a massive pattern interrupt, open up their world, create new neural pathways. And what I specialize in is helping people to understand how to open the mind to create those new neural pathways and hardwire them so that you can create new autonomic behaviors based on what you consciously know you want, but don't know how to actually make happen, because we create our reality with our subconscious programs, with our mental operating system. And when we learn how to create that harmonious relationship with the mind, everything flows with much greater ease.
So we're going to try and bring this down, just because there's a lot of people that won't understand all of the words that you just used. So when Harmony is talking about neural pathways, so there's like these little spider-like things that they're in our brain, and they send these little electro communications from one side to the other side, and they kind of talk back and forth. Well, there is an A, B, C, D pattern for these that normally go that way. And so neuroplasticity is talking about the neural communication and the fact that it is changeable. So you can make it go A, C, E, as opposed to A, B, C, D. You just have to interrupt the pattern, which is what she's talking about. And there's just so many different kinds of ways that I've heard people do that interrupt these patterns. I just come back from a Tony Robbins event, and there was a lot of interrupted patterns through what we did through that weekend. But what she's doing is reprogramming the way that you think, the way your subconscious and then conscious respond. And that's kind of what Harmony's talking about, is getting your conscious mind, the part that's over here telling you, you got to do laundry, to communicate with the subconscious that goes, oh no, that's scary, don't do that. So that's just a little bit of layman's terms there. I'll let you take
think of it like a forest trail. You've got a forest trail that's been walked for 20 years, and it is deeply entrenched. That is basically the programs that you've been running your whole life around pick a topic, right? And because it's so deeply entrenched, even if we're not thinking about it, we generally tend to fall into that trail. Our feet will just end up on that trail. And what I specialize in is actually helping you to take the bushwhacker and create a whole new trail for yourself and make that trail go exactly where you want it to, and then make that trail over time the automatic trail that you go. And then over time, that trail that you've been walking for 20 years, Mother Nature covers it up. Mother Nature will do what she does, and that trail won't exist anymore. So this is really what it's about. It's creating new trails in new directions for your exploration.
Yeah. And so when I referred to Dr. Joe Dispenza,
Yep.
is who I was referring to. A lot of people out there know him and know some of his work. And there, I mean, where you're trained at with the fact that you do hypnosis, so he's got a lot of that background that you've got that he goes through. And this is science-based. I mean, I've watched Dr. Joe along with HeartMath put the neuros on and check the heart. So you're all hooked up to electrodes and they monitor all of this. And what they're trying to do at that point is get the head and the heart kind of humming at the same speed, basically. And so they're working towards that with HeartMath. And then, of course, in the neuroscience part of it, we're changing our old records. We're going to put a scratch right through them and we're going to rewrite the whole album, so to speak. So when I was reading your bio and it talks about that loop, so I have a visual because I work with all these people that have been abused by their spouse. And so they have this loop and they'll end up going and dating the same person again and again and again until this gets taken care of. So kind of tell us a little bit about that loop.
I call it pain patterns and trauma cycles. So there is a beautiful visual for this. And I actually had my sister-in-law draw an actual person on a penny farthing. If you don't know what those look like, guys, it's the bikes from like 100 years ago that has the big, massive wheel, one little seat, and then a tiny wheel in the back. It's like the circus bicycle, basically. So imagine that you've got these programs, okay? And then you go out into the world and the programs are what is creating your reality. And you think consciously you're in control. You're using strategy. I'm going to do it differently because of ABC 1, 2, 3. And you think you're in control and everything looks different up front from what you've experienced before. Give it a few months, however, and you find yourself experiencing the same thing that you were experiencing before. And when you find yourself in that experience, you go, see, I can't trust anybody. And then you prove your patterns and it makes it even more deeply entrenched. And so you end up in this cycle where it's just you experience proof, pain, and you just keep doing it over and over and over, which is why I call it pain patterns and trauma cycles. Now, what's really important to understand is that conscious awareness alone does not change anything, because there is only so much willpower that is going to get us anywhere. And the reason for that is because the conscious mind is 5%. That is basically what we're using to have the conversation right now. 95% of your mind is your subconscious mind. And the challenge is that I think in general, most people don't grasp the power that the subconscious mind actually has. And when I'm explaining this to clients, the best way to get it through is to understand that while you and I are sitting and having a conversation, we have 72 trillion cells in our body, and the molecular structure and the dying and the birth and the changing of these cells are changing and dying and being born and being created into organs and cell and tissue. And the food and water we're drinking, the molecular structure is being changed to nourish our body. Our lungs are breathing. Our heart is beating. All of this stuff is happening. And are we having to think about any of it? Thank goodness we're not. Because if we give all of that power to the conscious mind, we'll be like, what? And we're dead. That's it. We couldn't even begin to contemplate what our subconscious mind is doing to keep our body functional and alive and to change molecular structure and to do all of these. It's beyond. I'm so glad I don't have to go there. So if we can understand the power that it houses, and that is where everything is created and happens, and use our conscious awareness to learn, to raise our state, and then use communication between the conscious and the subconscious mind to change the systems and the processes through repetition, then we are able to change our reality. So it's not like, I want to do better, now I'm going to force it. That's not how it works. We need loving cheerleaders. We need a tribe. We need support. And we need systems and processes that allow for us to step into something new, and then through repetition, mindfully create new patterns that then become autonomic.
Yeah. And, as you're talking, I happen to be dealing with a client that has definitely had some trauma, massive trauma. They were put into a sex ring, and now they're coming out of that, and they're trauma bonded to the man that took them out of
Yeah.
their home. So there's this trauma bond. And when they're trauma bonded, it's that loop is like you were saying, so deep, so deep, so deep. And a trauma bond, I talk about this quite frequently actually, is trauma bonds. I refer to them as when you start to rewire that, start to get over that part, you probably need the equivalent to an AA sponsor.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you think about that person, everything wants to rewire back to where it was. And so that is one of the most difficult things that we have to work with in getting people out of abuse, is that trauma bond. No matter how bad that person wants out of that relationship, they can't do it. And that's where the work that you have, I mean, she just come to mind, is like, we've been working with her for over a year now, and we're just now getting her to where she's starting to respond properly. And I could think, if she was working with you, it would probably happen much faster.
What's really beautiful is that when you truly understand what a massive pattern interrupt is and how to utilize it to open up the neural pathways to create change, it makes a big difference, especially if, one, you're facilitating somebody creating change, or you're trying to facilitate it for yourself. When you're in a really abusive situation like that, or you're in deep addiction or something, you literally need the kind of massive pattern interrupt that somebody's going to provide for you. In other words, you are relocated. So you do not have access to those things. And then you are able to rewire in a new reality, a new existence, because there needs to be like a separation, a decompression time, because the mind is creating dopamine and serotonin in ways that you really shouldn't be getting it because of the trauma bond. And when you separate from that and you have the time from it and the distance, then it allows for you to decompress, and then for logic to come in and for you to go, why was I doing that? I didn't do anything else. And then you can lean on your tribe, your guide, your coaches, your facilitators, whoever it is, to create a new reality for yourself. And I saw that with my sister, who was in an abusive marriage for 9 years. And finally, after 2 years of thinking about leaving him, she called me at 5:00 one morning and was like, I'm coming over. And I was like, sweet, I'm in bed. And she came and snuggled up next to me and cried, and we fell asleep together. And then she moved to the next province over. So I'm in British Columbia and she's in Alberta. She went way up north to oil country and lived there for 6 months. And it was the best thing she could have done for herself, because it created the massive pattern interrupt. It separated her from everything in her world. And it gave her that decompression time that allowed for her to circle back to her. And then after the 6 months, she came back home and was able to create a new reality and invest in herself and change her whole life. And now she's been married to 10 years to an amazing man that she loves. So if you are thinking of creating a change for yourself, for those of you who are listening, one of the most powerful things that you can do for yourself is go and travel to a country where you can't speak the language. You can't read the signs. You can't recognize the buildings. It is going to throw you into fight or flight so hard because you're not even going to know where to go pee. You're not even going to know where to find food. You're going to be driving around and going, I don't even recognize. It's going to freak you out and it will blast your brain open because you're going to have to innovate and create new neural pathways just to eat and go pee, just to survive and do the basic human things. It will alter you. So if you're trying to shake things up right now, I'm telling you, book a ticket to a foreign country.
Yeah. So I've been there, done that. And yes, Harmony is very right. You have to get new neural pathways. I had to learn to speak and understand another language. And I had to figure out where the toilet was. And I had to figure out how to order the food that I like to order. Yeah. And then, of course, you can't shop on Sunday at all over there. And then on Saturday, it closes down at noon. So it's like, if you don't get your stuff during the week, then you don't get your stuff, right? But these are things that they interrupt your pathways. And, as you're talking about that, my son was involved in drugs and stuff a long time back. And in order for him to get out of that, and this is what he tells all of his buddies that, hey, I need help. He says, you got to move away from your friends. You got to get completely away where you know absolutely nobody.
Yeah.
And then you have to start over.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
And absolutely, if you're in an abusive situation or you're in an addiction scenario, go and put yourself in a situation that is completely outside of your world. So none of those triggers are there that are going to pull you back, but also lean on support. Get yourself a coach, go to AA, do whatever it is that you need to do. But absolutely the best thing that you can do is completely get yourself outside of that situation altogether. Because I don't know how many people I've worked with that have come out of divorce situations. And what's funny is a lot of the time when a person is in a relationship with a narcissist, the narcissist is actually the one that engages the divorce. They're the ones who actually start it. It's a play, right? But then the person that ends up on the receiving end of it, at first, they're like, I don't want this to be a thing. I don't want to get divorced. And then they get help and they start working with me. And very quickly they do a 180 and go, oh my God, I'm so glad they started that. I am so much better off. And then they embrace it and they continue. And then the narcissist is sitting there going, well, they were supposed to come running back. This is not what was supposed to happen, because it was a game. You know what I mean? So it's really funny the way that it actually plays out. Like, the best thing that you can do if you know you need a life change is invest in yourself by getting somebody who sees you so much greater than you see yourself, that understands your capacity and shows up with unconditional love for you and cheerleads you and holds you accountable and kicks your high knee and gives you the love and the support that you need until you have the love and the belief in yourself to invest in yourself.
Right. When I was referring to the gal earlier that's been going through this, there's a team of us that are working with her. I was recently brought into the team because I understood the AA sponsor aspect. And they hadn't ever worked with that. I'm like, when I'm working with my people that are going through trauma bonding, that's how we break that, is we have to, call me and I talk you off the ledge. And it's the same way with an AA or NA sponsor, Narcotics Anonymous, or even Food Anonymous. There is that coach that's there or that sponsor that's there that you call, that you talk to, he talks you off that ledge. And with having Harmony there to break that pattern and help you reprogram that pattern, it'd make it so much easier. Like having this girl that I'm assisting with, that would have sped this whole process up. We would be about 50% farther along had we had this in place way back when this started. Like I said, I just come into this, but going back, with my son and seeing all the things that he has helped other drug addicts get involved, coming out of the drugs. He's like, you have to get away from. So he's had people move out with him and stay with him for a period of time until they get on their feet and are able to move to the next, which is kind of what he did. He moved out here. So from Colorado to South Carolina, because his older brother was living out here, lived with his oldest brother. He developed a life out here, got married, and then his oldest brother moved back to Colorado. So they the help, which what you're saying, get the help, the support that you need. And I can tell you that having support from just family is not enough. You need to have somebody that's trained in what Harmony does and what I do. You need to have somebody that's trained in what you're dealing with.
Right. And to follow up what you said, let's explore why that doesn't work. Why is it that they need to lean on somebody? Now, if I'm in an abusive situation and I've let myself be in that situation, where's my self-worth? If I've been an addict for such a long time, where's my self-worth? I'm beating myself up for the choices that I've been making. And in my mind, I'm a POS. I'm not going to translate that for you guys because I'd be swearing. But self-worth is on the floor. Okay. So am I going to invest in myself when my self-worth is that low? And my relationship of integrity with myself, my relationship of trust with myself is non-existent. So what need, and your family, you've been disappointing or arguing with and all the rest of that for your whole life. You cannot create the relationship that you need in familial relationships that'll help you get out of it. You can't. They are not meant to be your healer. The reason that it works when you get a mentor outside of your world is because when you bring on a coach or an expert, they are an authority you don't want to let down. You don't want to disappoint. It's going to hurt you to disappoint and let them down. You don't ever want them to look at you and go, I'm disappointed. I can't believe you. Mm-mm. Those are words you are terrified of hearing. So the motivation to not let your coach down, your sponsor down, is what drives you to stay sober, to stay out of the relationship, because you seek the praise and you fear the disappointment. You're actually looking to them to hold you accountable until one day you look in the mirror and you love yourself again. And then you don't want to let yourself down. But that happens over time. This is why it is so important to look outside of your world of friends, of family, of the people that you know, to somebody that you look at as an authority that you can turn to and go, this is a person I don't want to let down or disappoint. I am going to strive to make them happy.
Right. And, in my case with my clients, I tend to be a very, I hate to use the term in your face, but I'm very realist about what my clients going through divorce are going to deal with, especially when they're coming out of a narcissistic type relationship, being with a toxic person for so long. These people do the same thing. Like I can almost tell you, oh, well, they did that, so they're going to do this next, and they're going to do this down the road. And so that's, I have clients that are like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And it's like, no, we're going to prepare by documenting this. And then I just kind of throw the mud in their face. I let them see that this is what we're going to deal with. And we've got a long haul to this. And so when my clients get through that mud, they're like, wow, you were not kidding when you said that. And I'm like, yes. But they were able to go through that, just like the clients that work with you. They're able to go through that because they have the support of a professional who's trained and understands what they're doing with the client.
100%. Absolutely. I've been through the process so many times over the last decade, and having somebody you can turn to, because a divorce, it's so hard to say, but it's a war with many battles. It really is. Especially when you're dealing with somebody that's abusive or toxic. And so if you can really have somebody that's in your back pocket so that when another attack comes, you can feel the trigger, you can feel the emotion. Because if you've been entrenched in a relationship with somebody for more than a decade and you're trying to come out of it, guess what? They know how to push every single one of your buttons, every single one of them. And they're on the warpath. So that's what they're going for. And it leaves you powerless because it makes you reactive. And they're counting and relying on that to manipulate you. So when you have somebody that understands how this process works and how to diffuse these things and how to hold space for you to vent your emotions in a safe space and then respond strategically in a high vibration way when you're back to logic, then you are overcoming all of these battles and responding in the best way for you to get the ultimate outcome that you seek. And I've done this so many times with people like you have. And when they come out the other end, they're like, if I had been left to my own, I would have done so many things. And I am so glad that I was able to come to you and I was able to curse and swear and lose my and then circle back and do what you guided me to do, because every single time you guided me to respond with love. And I'm telling you, if I'd been, I just wouldn't have done that. And I'm so glad you helped me do that, because look at what we've created. Like, I did all the right things and I dealt with the judges and I did, and it all, okay, now I can start again. And I feel good about myself because I navigated that in the most high vibration way possible. And I think that's something that's really beautiful to be able to hold space for a person to do, to be able to look back at a multi-year war with many battles and to be able to stand with their head held high because they know they navigated it in the most beautiful way possible.
Yeah. And it just gives them strength. And you know, this is, I swear all of my clients will say this, and I'm sure that you've heard it a million times as well. They're like, oh my God, why did I get myself into this? And they kick their own butt, right? Well,
Yes.
yes, their vibration, as you put it a minute ago, their vibration did pull that in, but it's because they need to work on that part. But you can't beat yourself up because, and then we go into the spiritual realm where we can say, you created this before you came to this body. This is the soul aspect of what you needed to go through. This fire, this specific fire is for your benefit, not for your detriment. Once you get through this, just like you're saying, they go through this and they're like, wow, and they're so strong. They get through that other side and they're a whole different person. And that's what I do with my people. I hope that the majority of my clients come to me before they make the decision to get a divorce, if not immediately after that, right? So that we can start not just working on the divorce on my end, but working on their healing as they're starting to step forward in the to-do list of the divorce. They don't even realize that these things are happening. Now, with you, they're coming for that change. With me, it's just going to naturally start to happen. And it's like I had a phone message the other day from one of my really close friends. She goes, I don't know how I'm going to get over this. She says, I don't want to feel angry at him anymore. And it's like, it's okay to feel angry. And I said, you're going to need to talk to a therapist or somebody, because it's not like you can just drop it and walk away and it's gone. You can't just do that. Just like what you do, you're reprogramming those neuros so that they have a different response in the end. And it's not an overnight thing.
I love that you just brought that up, because it brings a particular story to mind with a client. And I think it's one of the most powerful examples, because I think when you hear this, you're going to think she's justified in being pissed. And yet I shifted her perspective. So one of my clients came to me going through a divorce with a narcissistic husband. Instead of calling them an ex, I call them a husband, you guys. Let's get more positive about the terms that we're using. It helps. So she had called me and he decided that he was going to move 2,000 miles away to go be with his parents. Now, he would be leaving 2 small children behind and abandoning them. Now, I know all of you guys are like, well, he's a big jerk. He's leaving his kids behind. How could he abandon his children? She has every right to be mad. I hear you. And she has a right to her emotions. Now, she called me angry and crying and seething and just trauma out the wazoo. Like, the psychic trauma was real. She was feeling all of it. And most of it was because she was feeling protective of her children. She was angry for her children because daddy was abandoning them. And I stopped and said, hold on a second. Who's looking after him? You just moved back to your parents' place. And you've got love and you've got your siblings and you are surrounded with a love arena where you're getting to heal and recollect yourself. Who does he have? Because he's broken too. He's hurting too. And she was like, nobody. And where's he going? Back to his parents. Oh, so he's going back to his parents to get what? Love. Oh, so you're going to get mad at him because he's broken after a 14-year marriage and he's going back to get love from his mom and dad to collect himself? Can you explain to me why that's justified? He deserves love too. He deserves to lick his wounds. He deserves to heal as well. So how about we circle back and think about this for a second? And when we're talking to the children, we say, daddy's going to go get hugs and love from his mommy and daddy because his heart is hurting too. And he needs love and snuggles. And when he's ready and he's feeling better, he'll come back and be a better daddy because he'll have gotten the love and snuggles that I give you guys and that you guys want and need. Anytime you guys fall out in the yard, you can come and I can kiss your boo-boos and give you hugs. Well, he's going to get his boo-boos kissed. And we need to support that. And she was like, I never thought about his pain. I never thought about what he was going through and what he needed. And it just immediately took all the anger away. We always need to think about what is going on from the perspective of the other person. Yeah, it's easy to villainize them when you look at the actions. Now let's step back and look at the motivator, because the motivator always takes you back to love every single time. Narcissists are not villains. They are deeply wounded human beings that have created protection mechanisms. They are deeply wounded, and we need to stop attacking them because they're not villains. They're hurting too. Sometimes we can work with them and they can heal with the right practitioner support. Sometimes it's so deeply entrenched that we have to let them go and wish them love and healing. But villainizing them is not the answer at all, ever. Love always is the answer. And it starts with letting go of the behavior and stepping back and looking at the motivator. You will always find love when you can do that.
Yeah. And so often, especially early on when I'm working with my clients, we don't start changing that right away, but we definitely have to get that changed so that they don't go into court, or hopefully they don't go to court at all. Hopefully the change will create change enough that they can mediate, but usually my clients can't mediate with their abuser. But the reality is once you feel better in your heart and you don't have that hate, and again, it takes time to get over that, but once you are able to let go of that, oh my God, your world changes, the world of your children change, the world of the people you help and work with, and the whole world changes. Just because you are able to let go of that hate. And there's so many people, and in fact, there's clients that I have turned down after working with them for a little while because they refuse to let go of the hate. Or in one client's case, the hurt of a lost child from 17 years ago. Her marriage crumbled because she sat on the couch for 17 years, hurting.
Unfortunately, a lot of people get so attached to their pain body that, they trust and rely on their ability to receive attention and love as a result of being in that. And they don't understand that actually letting it go and expanding and being love can get them attention. And nobody explains this to them. And so they don't even know that that's what they're utilizing to get attention, because these programs start when they're children. The only way that they get attention from mommy and daddy is making a mess or causing a problem or getting into trouble. But when they're being good, they get neglected and ignored. And so it creates what I call a trauma drama program, where you create drama to get attention. And until you learn that that is a thing that you do, and with every client that I work with, whenever they surface something, we always ask if they have trauma drama programs so they can check in with themselves and release and resolve that. Because it's not just like you have one. I'm sorry, guys, we have many. And we need to check ourselves and resolve that many times over. Okay. But when you can understand that and learn how to reconcile this stuff and how to step into love as your way of getting attention and you don't need to seek attention. If you are love, you'll just naturally attract it. It completely changes the circle that you have around you, the people that you have around you, because instead of people being repelled by your trauma drama, they're actually attracted to you because people want to spend time around love.
Right?
People do not want to spend time around a person who has hound dog on a nail syndrome and is bitching and whining and complaining all day. I'm just saying you have a shelf life if you're acting that way. And it starts with holding ourselves accountable, understanding if you are wine powered, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself, because I'm just saying people don't want to listen to people whining all day. They just don't. I've got a dog that I'm puppy sitting right now, and I'm telling you, he's wine powered and he's driving me nuts. He's adorable, but it's irritating. So
and that's why people going through divorce don't have the support of their friends after a period of time, because they get tired.
Right. Because it's like, how many times do I need to hear about the drama? And I just don't want to be around it. Right. So hire somebody that you're paying to listen to your drama and help you reconcile it, so that at the end of the day, you're not going on dates talking about all of your exes and carrying that baggage along with you into future relationships, because nobody wants to hear it ever at all.
Amen. So we're actually coming to the end. This has been such a fun conversation that I haven't paid attention to our time, but all of your contact information will be below. But so tell us how people can get a hold of you.
So there's a couple of different things that you can do to engage with me. One, you can just book a free call. It's free to book a 30-minute call with me if you want to share your story, and we can have a discussion as to what's best for you. You have the option of being able to work with me one-on-one if you're the kind of a person that's like, absolutely, this amazing woman is a powerhouse. I want her to kick my ass and let's do this. Absolutely. I'm here to give you the one-on-one attention that you need. I also have a beautiful membership that is for people that are not necessarily in a space where they've got a lot to spend on the one-on-one coaching, where you can come in and you can actually go through course content and watch interviews and get the support that you need in a much more affordable way. And that's the Awakened Relationship Society. So you can come in and book a free call with me, and I can direct you to either or, because it costs $0 for us to have a conversation. So I would say your first step, just book a call with me and let's hang out and have a conversation. And I will hold space with love for whatever you have going on, and then direct you in whichever direction that you need to go that's going to suit your highest good based on where you're at on your journey.
Amen. Amen. And so for those of you who don't know, I'm a certified divorce coach. And that means that I'm trained in the complexities of divorce. I have also experienced abuse in a relationship, psychological as well as physical. My father has dealt with both psychological and physical, picking him up from the hospital the last time after he was run over with a dually pickup truck. And my late husband went through a torturous marriage and a torturous divorce. 7 years, $300,000. So not only am I trained in divorce, I understand it firsthand. So that alone helps you to move from where you're at to moving forward. You can contact me by email at coachtinalyn@gmail.com. That's CoachTinalynn@gmail. My website is divorcecoachspecialist.com. And you can find me on social media, Facebook under Tina Lynn Huggins, that's Huggins, under LinkedIn under Tina Huggins, Instagram is Divorce Coach Tina Lynn, and TikTok under Divorce Tina. So, Harmony, what would be a great piece of advice that you can offer our listeners right now?
Become what you want to attract. Everything that you create is created by this beautiful, powerful mind that nobody can even begin to understand. Neuroscientists are still trying to map out the brilliance of our own minds. If you want to change your reality, start by going on a journey to create a relationship with your mind. And if you don't know what that looks like, then work with somebody that has spent over a decade mastering that, so that you can start to walk that path, because that is where it starts. You create a beautiful relationship with yourself. and everything in your reality changes and flows with ease and grace. I can promise you that. I can promise you that. Invest in you and just watch everything flow with ease.
So, and my advice is that just like Harmony said, it's free to have that consult with her. Please book that consult. Find out what she has to offer. But I would suggest if you can invest in the one-on-one with her, that would be the very best and the very quickest way for you to get out of this mess in your head that's been going on for how long, that drew you to this toxic partner and maybe the next and so on. So working with Harmony can create a whole different reality for you in the very near future. So that's my advice for you.
I think if they played with both of us, they would have a dynamic duo that would set them up for success. I'm just going to suggest that.
Go through the divorce and then work on the other end of that. But
100%. Seriously. I mean, the specialties in the background and the experience that both of us have is diverse and yet synergistic. You know what I mean?
the synergy is definitely an important part when you have two people working together, so, or two or more. So very good. So many people, including myself, which I didn't talk about on this show, we get through that divorce, we get through places where we have suicidal ideation. And I can tell you that is not a safe place for you to be. It is not a good place. I know, I've been there. So when you get to that part, please call somebody. You can call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 988. That's the same number in Canada and in the US, 988. Get somebody on the line, talk to them, let them talk you off that ledge. You do not want to do that. This is all based on your current pain at this moment. There's also, in the Netherlands, you can also reach that prevention hotline at 113. Get that support. Get help, let them talk you off the ledge. If you are in a place where you need to have the police there right now, here in the US, it's 911. It is 999 in the Netherlands and 112 in the UK. Call, press charges on the other person. Those charges are your key out of the relationship. Don't drop those charges. The abuse that happens generally after you drop the charges is worse than that before. Use those charges as your key out of that relationship. The domestic violence hotline can be reached at 800-799-7233. That number again is 800-799-7233. I also ask that you like, comment, and share this information so that it can help other people. So thank you so much, Harmony, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a blessing to have a conversation with you and to be able to reach out to your beautiful audience.
Well, I'm so glad that your beautiful face got to reach out to our audience. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Until next time.